One man controls the rockets that launch American military satellites, the internet that connects active war zones, the social media platform that shapes political reality for 600 million people. He has direct access to the financial records of every American who receives a government payment. He has the ear of the most powerful political leader on earth. And he answers to nobody. He was not elected. He was not appointed. He was not confirmed by any Senate. He simply accumulated enough wealth and enough leverage that the system could no longer ignore him. No private individual in human history has simultaneously controlled space infrastructure, global internet, military contracts, social media, and a government efficiency department. This is not a story about genius. This is a story about power, where it came from, what it has bought, and what history tells us happens next. The Elon Musk story begins not in Silicon Valley, but in apartheid South Africa, a system built on racial separation, forced labor, and the violent suppression of the black majority. Musk was born in Pretoria in 1971. His father, Errol Musk, was an engineer and property developer, a member of South Africa's white elite under apartheid. For years, Musk and his father claimed the family had no involvement in mining. Then the Emerald Mine story emerged. Errol Musk has confirmed in interviews that the family part-owned an emerald mine in Zambia. The mine operated during a period of significant labor exploitation in the region. Musk has disputed the details and the significance. But the starting point matters. He did not begin from nothing. He began from generational wealth built in a system designed to benefit people who looked like him. At 17, Musk left South Africa. He has said partly to avoid mandatory military service in the apartheid army. He moved to Canada, then to the United States. In America, Musk studied at Penn, sold his first company Zip2 for $307 million, then co-founded what became PayPal. When PayPal was sold to eBay in 2002 for $1.5 billion, Musk's share was $180 million. He was 31 years old. What he did with that money is where the story becomes extraordinary, and where the myth begins to diverge from the reality. The myth says Musk risked everything, that he bet his last dollar on SpaceX and Tesla and nearly went bankrupt. The reality is more complicated. Tesla was founded by Martin Eberhard and Mark Tarpenning. Musk joined as chairman and lead investor. He did not found it. Eberhard was eventually forced out. Musk rewrote the founding narrative. A court case later determined all 5 original members were co-founders, not Musk alone. SpaceX, which Musk did found, survived its early failures largely because of NASA contracts, government money that kept the company alive when private investment alone would not have. The self-made billionaire who risked everything is a compelling story. It is also a story that obscures where the money actually came from and who actually took the risks. Understanding the origin is not about diminishing what was built. It is about understanding the system that made it possible, because that system is now being shaped by the man it created. And that system runs on something that almost nobody talks about when they discuss Elon Musk's genius. Government money, enormous amounts of it. Elon Musk is celebrated as the ultimate free market entrepreneur. The man who proved private enterprise could do what governments could not. The reality is that Musk's business empire has received more government subsidies, contracts, and support than almost any other private enterprise in American history. A 2015 investigation by the Los Angeles Times calculated that Musk's companies had received at least $4.9 billion in government support at that point alone. By 2023, updated analyses put the total government support received by Musk's various enterprises, contracts, subsidies, tax credits, loans, at over $38 billion. Tesla's growth was directly fueled by government electric vehicle tax credits, paid by American taxpayers one day, that gave buyers up to $7,500 off each purchase. SpaceX's survival in its critical early years was secured by NASA contracts worth $1.6 billion, awarded when the company had yet to successfully complete a mission. SolarCity, founded by Musk's cousins, chaired by Musk, received over $500 million in government grants and tax credits before being absorbed into Tesla in a controversial deal. The Boring Company has received government contracts for tunnel projects. Neuralink has received NIH research grants. The pattern is consistent across every enterprise. This is not inherently corrupt. Many great enterprises are built on government contracts, but it creates a relationship of dependency that cuts both ways. A man whose businesses depend on government contracts has every incentive to control government. And in 2024, he began doing exactly that. But before the political story, there is a technology story that makes the political story possible. A technology that gives one man control over something no government ever had absolute control over. The Internet. Specifically, the ability to provide or deny Internet access to any location on Earth, including active war zones. No government in history has had this capability. Not America, not China, not Russia. One private individual built it and owns it. It is called Starlink. And what Musk has done with it, and what he has refused to do with it, has already changed the outcome of a war. A sitting U.S. senator called it the most significant accumulation of private power over critical infrastructure in American history. They were not wrong, and the story of what Musk did with Starlink in Ukraine is one of the most documented and least discussed exercises of private power in modern history. February 2022. Russia invades Ukraine. Within days, Russia destroys Ukraine's conventional communications infrastructure. Ukraine's military is suddenly fighting blind, unable to coordinate forces, unable to communicate across the front line, unable to direct drone strikes. Ukraine's vice prime minister sent a tweet, a public tweet, to Elon Musk asking for Starlink terminals. Within hours, Musk agreed. Within weeks, thousands of Starlink terminals had arrived in Ukraine. The Ukrainian military reconnected. Drone coordination resumed. The Russian advance stalled. Military analysts have credited Starlink with being one of the most significant factors in Ukraine's ability to resist Russia's initial assault. One private individual's decision, made via Twitter without any government authorization, without any international treaty, changed the course of a European war. But then something happened that revealed the true nature of the power Musk held. In September 2022, Ukrainian forces were preparing a major drone submarine attack on Russia's Black Sea fleet anchored in Crimea. As the drones approached Crimea, Starlink connectivity, which they depended on for guidance, was switched off. The drones lost connection and the mission failed. Musk later confirmed he had ordered Starlink to be disabled near Crimea because he feared it would provoke a Russian nuclear response. He made this decision alone. No U.S. president authorized it. No NATO commander was consulted. No Ukrainian general was informed in advance. One man decided, and a military operation failed. Ukrainian officials were furious. A senior Ukrainian military intelligence official said Musk had single-handedly thwarted a major military operation. Musk's response was that he was trying to prevent nuclear war. He may have been right, or he may have been wrong. But the point is, he was the one deciding. No private citizen should be in a position to decide whether a military operation that could trigger nuclear war proceeds or fails. But one is. Starlink now provides internet to 160 countries. It is the only reliable internet in parts of sub-Saharan Africa, in remote regions of South America, in disaster zones worldwide. Every one of those connections is a relationship of dependency on a man whose decisions are subject to no democratic oversight, no international law, and no regulatory framework that has any teeth. Most people think of Tesla as a car company. It is not. It is the world's largest mobile data collection network that also makes cars. Every Tesla on the road is equipped with 8 cameras, 12 ultrasonic sensors, and a forward-facing radar recording everything around it continuously. There are over 5 million Teslas on roads worldwide. That is 5 million mobile surveillance units feeding data back to one company. Continuously. Tesla's terms of service give the company rights to the footage recorded by its vehicles. That footage includes the inside of your garage, your home, your neighborhood, your daily patterns. Tesla has used customer footage to train its self-driving AI without always obtaining explicit additional consent, a practice that has drawn investigations in multiple countries. In 2022, Reuters reported that Tesla employees had shared sensitive, sometimes intimate images recorded by customer vehicles, including footage from inside private spaces. China has restricted Teslas from entering certain government facilities because Chinese officials believe Tesla vehicles are surveillance devices for American intelligence. Whether or not that is true, the fact that China's government believes it is possible says everything about what Tesla's data infrastructure actually represents. Tesla also holds the most complete dataset of real-world driving conditions ever assembled, data worth billions to autonomous vehicle development and insurers globally. Neuralink, Musk's brain-computer interface company, is implanting devices directly into human brains. The first human patient received an implant in January 2024. If Starlink is the internet in one man's hands, and Tesla is the road network's data in one man's hands, Neuralink is the beginning of human thought potentially accessible to one man's servers. The regulatory frameworks that govern data privacy were written before any of these capabilities existed. They are catastrophically inadequate for what is being built. Tesla's valuation, which has never been fully explained by its car sales alone, may be better understood as the valuation of the world's most extensive private data infrastructure. Data is the oil of the 21st century, and Musk has more of it than any government, including America's. But data and satellites, as powerful as they are only part of the story. The part that most directly affects your daily reality is something simpler and more immediate. It is the platform where you read the news, form your political opinions, and decide who to vote for. And in October 2022, Elon Musk bought it. When Musk bought Twitter for $44 billion in October 2022, he called it buying the digital town square, the place where public discourse happens. He was right. Twitter, now X, is where journalists break news, where politicians communicate policy, where social movements organize, where wars are narrated in real time. Within days of taking ownership, Musk fired 80% of Twitter's staff, including most of the teams responsible for content moderation and election integrity. He reinstated thousands of accounts that had been banned for spreading misinformation, inciting violence, or violating platform policies, including accounts banned for coordinated inauthentic behavior. He released what he called the Twitter files, internal documents he claimed showed political bias and content moderation decisions under previous ownership. Independent analysts who reviewed the Twitter files noted that while they showed political discussions, they did not show systematic suppression, and that the released files were selectively chosen. Musk then changed the algorithm, the system that decides what content users see, in ways that dramatically amplified his own account's reach. Internal Twitter engineers confirmed that Musk's account was given special algorithmic treatment. His posts artificially boosted to the top of millions of users' feeds. During the 2024 U.S. presidential election, Musk's X became the primary news source for a significant portion of the American electorate, with Musk himself posting hundreds of times a day in support of Trump. X's algorithm during the election period demonstrably amplified right-wing content and suppressed left-wing content, documented by multiple independent research organizations. A man who owned the platform, controlled the algorithm, posted hundreds of times daily in support of one candidate, and donated $100 million to that candidate's campaign. No foreign government, no political party, no media organization in American history has had this combination of tools available to influence a single election. Musk has also intervened in elections in Germany, the UK, Brazil, and Argentina, amplifying far-right candidates and attacking establishment parties on a platform he controls. When Germany's Chancellor Olaf Scholz criticized Musk's interventions in German politics, Musk called him a fool on X to an audience of 200 million followers. No legal framework exists to regulate the owner of a social media platform who uses that platform as a political weapon across multiple sovereign democracies simultaneously. And while all of this was happening, Musk was also building something that made even the social media power look modest. Space is no longer a domain of nations. It is increasingly a domain of one company. SpaceX has more active satellites in orbit than all governments on Earth combined. SpaceX has conducted more orbital launches than any government space program in history. It has become the indispensable infrastructure of modern space access. NASA, America's own space agency, is dependent on SpaceX to reach the International Space Station. America's astronauts fly on Musk's rockets. The Pentagon has awarded SpaceX billions in contracts for satellite launches, communications infrastructure, and classified national security payloads. SpaceX's Starshield program, a military version of Starlink, provides real-time intelligence, surveillance, and reconnaissance capabilities to U.S. military operations worldwide. The U.S. military has become structurally dependent on a private company for space-based communications and intelligence, a dependency with no historical precedent. If Musk decided tomorrow to restrict SpaceX's cooperation with the U.S. military, as he restricted Starlink in Crimea, America's military space capabilities would be immediately compromised. No senator has approved this arrangement. No treaty governs it. The U.S. military's dependency on a private citizen for space access was never voted on by anyone. The space economy is projected to reach $1 trillion by 2040. SpaceX is positioned to capture a dominant share of that economy. Asteroid mining, lunar resources, Mars colonization. Musk has stated openly that his goal is the multiplanetary expansion of human civilization. Under his terms. The Outer Space Treaty of 1967 prohibits nations from claiming sovereignty over celestial bodies. It says nothing about private corporations. Musk has said explicitly that he intends SpaceX to be the company that makes humanity multiplanetary. The governance structure of that multiplanetary civilization has not been discussed. Historically, the entity that controls the infrastructure of an economy controls the economy. The entity that controls the infrastructure of space will control the space economy. East India Company, Standard Oil, AT&T. The pattern of private infrastructure monopoly followed by extraordinary political power, followed by eventual state intervention has repeated throughout history. But Musk has not waited for the political power to follow from the economic power. He has moved to capture political power directly, faster than any previous monopolist in history. And the vehicle he has chosen to do it through is the most audacious entry into government in the history of American democracy. In November 2024, President-elect Donald Trump announced the creation of the Department of Government Efficiency, DOGE, to be led by Elon Musk. DOGE is not a government department. It has no legal authority, no congressional authorization, no oversight structure. It is a private advisory body with access to government systems. Within weeks of its creation, DOGE personnel had gained access to the Treasury Department's payment system, the system that processes payments to 300 million Americans. The Treasury payment system contains the Social Security numbers, bank account details, and financial histories of virtually every American who has ever received a government payment. Federal judges issued emergency orders to stop DOGE's access to Treasury systems. The orders were partially complied with and partially ignored. DOGE personnel also accessed systems at the Department of Education, the Office of Personnel Management, which holds security clearance files on millions of government employees, and USAID. The Office of Personnel Management database contains security clearance files, psychological evaluations, and personal information on everyone who has ever held a U.S. government security clearance. USAID, the foreign aid agency, was effectively shut down by DOGE within weeks. Programs feeding millions of people in war zones and disaster areas were halted. Career government employees who had worked in classified programs for decades arrived at their offices to find their access revoked by people they had never met with no legal authority over them. Musk has publicly celebrated firing government workers, posting laughing emojis about job losses, describing civil servants as parasites. The stated goal is reducing government waste. The documented effect is dismantling regulatory agencies that oversee industries in which Musk has financial interests. The FAA regulates SpaceX launches. The SEC has investigated Tesla's disclosures. The NLRB has ruled against Tesla's labor practices. All three are being restructured by DOGE. No previous American president has given a private citizen This level of access to government systems, while that citizen simultaneously held billions in government contracts. Constitutional scholars across the political spectrum have described the arrangement as legally unprecedented and potentially unconstitutional. But the constitutional questions may be secondary to the practical question. What has already been seen, copied, or used from the databases DOGE accessed before the court orders arrived? That question has not been answered, and the man at the center of it is simultaneously the largest individual donor to the president who gave him the access. In 2024, Elon Musk donated approximately $277 million to Donald Trump's presidential campaign and associated political committees. For context, that is more than double the previous record for individual political donations in a single election cycle in American history. In return, access to every government database, leadership of a body that is restructuring the regulatory state, and the ear of the most powerful person on Earth. Musk did not hide his political activity. He posted hundreds of times daily on X in support of Trump, algorithmically amplified pro-Trump content, and used his platform as a campaign tool. The combination of platform ownership, algorithmic control, and financial donation represents a new category of political influence, one that existing campaign finance law was never designed to address. But America is only one country. Musk's political interventions have crossed sovereign borders in ways that have no legal framework anywhere in the world. In Germany's 2025 federal election, Musk held a live X event with the leader of the far-right AfD party, effectively campaigning for a foreign political party to 200 million followers. In the UK, Musk repeatedly attacked the British government on X, called for the release of convicted criminals he considered political prisoners, and described Britain's prime minister in terms no foreign national would have dared use previously. In Brazil, Musk defied court orders issued by Brazil's Supreme Court, refusing to comply with legal rulings from a sovereign nation's highest judicial authority. Brazil temporarily blocked X. Musk told his users to circumvent the block using VPNs, a private citizen instructing people to break a sovereign nation's laws. The pattern across Germany, UK, Brazil, and Argentina is identical. Musk uses X to amplify far-right nationalist movements, attack establishment governments, and insert himself into democratic processes he has no right to participate in. No foreign government has the ability to sanction him effectively. No international body has jurisdiction. No democratic process can remove him from his platforms. The 20th century had its press barons, Hearst, Murdoch, who used media ownership to shape political outcomes. Musk has more reach, more tools, and less accountability than any of them. William Randolph Hearst is credited with helping start the Spanish-American War through his newspapers. Musk has already helped determine the outcomes of elections in multiple countries simultaneously. And underneath all of this political activity is the same question that underlies every act of extraordinary private power in history. What does he actually want? History gives us the answer, not because Musk is a historical figure yet, but because the accumulation of this kind of power has happened before, and it always ends the same way. History has seen private individuals accumulate power that rivaled or exceeded that of governments before. The parallels to Musk are not flattering to the historical figures or to Musk. The East India Company, a private corporation, governed 200 million people, maintained its own army of 260,000 soldiers, and extracted wealth from an entire subcontinent for 200 years. It was eventually brought under government control, not because it became evil, but because a private entity controlling state-like power is inherently incompatible with democratic governance. John D. Rockefeller's Standard Oil controlled 91% of American oil refining. It set prices, destroyed competitors, and operated outside any effective regulation. It was broken up by the Supreme Court in 1911, not because Rockefeller was uniquely evil, but because the concentration of economic power in private hands at this scale is incompatible with democracy. Andrew Carnegie, J.P. Morgan, the robber barons, every era of extraordinary private power accumulation in American history has eventually been met with the same response. regulation, breakup, or state intervention. But Musk's power is different from all of these predecessors in one critical way. It spans domains that have never before been combined in private hands. Rockefeller had oil. Carnegie had steel. Musk has the satellites, the internet, the cars, the social media, the rockets, the government access, and the brain implants simultaneously. This means the historical playbook for addressing private power concentration, antitrust law, sector regulation, was not written for this situation. Breaking up Standard Oil made sense because Standard Oil was one thing. Oil. What do you break Musk into? SpaceX without Starlink? Tesla without the data? X without the algorithm? The democratic systems of the 21st century are confronting a form of private power they were not designed to govern, and they are losing. Musk himself has been clear about his worldview. He believes in accelerationism, in moving fast, in disrupting institutions he considers corrupt or inefficient. Government is his current target. The danger is not that Musk is evil. The danger is that a system designed for democratic accountability cannot function when one unelected individual controls this much of its critical infrastructure. Every democracy that has survived private power accumulation at this scale has done so by asserting that public interest supersedes private power. Everyone that has failed has done so by deciding it does not. America is making that decision right now, not in a single vote, not in a single law, but in the accumulation of accommodations, overlooked conflicts of interest, and unanswered constitutional questions. History will record what happened when one man controlled the satellites, the internet, the cars, the social media, the government access, and the rockets. The question is which history it will be. The one where democracy held, or the one where it didn't. This video is not about whether Elon Musk is good or bad. It is about whether any single individual should have this much unaccountable power over systems that billions of people depend on. That question is not new. It is the oldest question in political history, and every generation has had to answer it for themselves. Wealth history, where the past explains everything you see today.